we're back in the record outside of the presence of the jury. My understanding is that you intend to call 2 witnesses, Mr. Frangeli, and then we'll need a recess,
That's my understanding, ma'am.
right?
That's correct, Judge.
Okay, are we ready to bring the jury in?
Let me check on the witnesses outside. One witness, Mr. Burks. We're ready to go.
All right, we'll bring the jury in.
All rise, please.
Alright, the record will reflect the jury is back, appropriately seated in the jury box. Thank you for your patience, ladies and gentlemen. This time we are ready to proceed with our next witness. And go ahead, Mr. Mayfield.
Thank you, Your Honor. The people call Mark Burks.
There she is. All right.
Sir, if you would approach the podium, raise your right hand for the judge, please.
Do you hereby solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give in a matter now pending before this court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? This you do under the pains and penalties of perjury.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, if you would state your full name for the record and spell your last, please.
Mark Kevin Burks, Jr. Spell my last name, B as in Bravo, U-R-K-S.
Sir, are you in the United States Army?
Yes, sir.
What is your rank?
I'm a E5 Sergeant,
Where are you stationed?
stationed in Fort Stewart, Georgia.
In what company?
I am in Diller, FSC.
Is that the same company that Sgt Tadarius Hassel was in?
Yes, sir.
Sir, what does it mean to be in the same company as another soldier?
Being in the same company is basically you see that person every day on a day-to-day basis. You work with them. You start your day off with them and you end with them every day. When you go down range and you're getting ready to battle, that's the person that's going to be right there with you every time.
Sergeant Burks, what is your job title?
I'm a 91 Hotel. That's a track vehicle mechanic. So a track vehicle mechanic is basically I troubleshoot troop carriers, missile launchers, heavy diesel vehicles, troubleshooting, ordering parts, putting parts on order, basically the same stuff that you would do as a mechanic.
Were you a track vehicle mechanic before you made sergeant?
Yes, sir.
And have the duties changed since?
Yes, sir.
How so?
So as a sergeant, you're more so of a supervisor. You don't have to really get your hands dirty, but you're more so something like a mentor. As an E4 and below, you're working all day, every day.
Yes, sir. Sergeant, did you know Sgt Tadarius Hassel III well?
Yes, sir.
How did you meet him?
We both in process together. When we first got to Fort Stewart, we in process together, which means get all the paperwork and everything that you need to get done for you to get to your unit. And when I finally got to my unit is when he was there. I was still an E4 at the time, so I was still a specialist. So when you get to your unit, you have to have a sergeant escort you to go get your equipment, show you where you're going to work every day, get all your paperwork filled out. So that's when he first came in, and I met him, and we kind of just like locked in just like that.
Approximately when was this, sir?
It was January 2018. That was right before we deployed to Korea.
Thank you, sir. Sergeant Burks, is it unusual for someone the sergeant's age to make sergeant?
Hell yeah. Excuse me. Yes. Yes. I mean, he was 22 and he was like an E5. Like, I'm 27 and I'm an E5 now. Granted, I came in the military a little bit later, but for somebody to pick up E5 like that fast, like I think he was maybe in the military for 2-3 years. But in order for you to get that fast. Like, they have to think highly of you. So in order for you to get those stripes, you have to earn it. You got to show that you have to be the most physical, most knowledgeable, the most, how can I put it? More so, we see that you fit best to be a part of our corps. So we want you to join it so you can teach and mentor young soldiers so they can be just like you. Because when you go down range, when the first time somebody sees you, they see those stripes, that's the first thing that they're going to respect is those stripes, because you're with them every day on a daily basis to teach somebody how to do something. And if they don't have that structure, that backbone, if you're only as strong as your weakest link. So basically that's what a good mentor is.
Thank you, sir. Did you know Sergeant Hassel well? Were you close? How would you describe your friendship?
He's like a big little brother. Even though he outranked me and I was older than him, I still looked up to him kinda. Not more so in a father figurely way, but more so in a damn, he got his stuff together. I need to step my game up type of thing, you know.
Would you say that Sergeant Hassel had an influence on your career in the military?
Definitely. He helped me because I was struggling to pick up my sergeant rank. So he helped me study. He basically was just pushing me like, come on, man, you gonna get it. And even though he was younger than me, he was allowed to smoke me, so he made me do push-ups and stuff until I got the stuff right. But yeah, he's like a little big brother to me.
Is there anything else that you knew personally about Sergeant Hassel that you think that made him able to achieve sergeant that quickly?
Your Honor, at this point, I'm going to object to relevance as to how quickly Sergeant Hassel made sergeant as to whether or not my client has committed any crimes.
Mr. Mayfield?
Your Honor, the people think it's relevant. We're calling two witnesses that can speak personally about the fallen soldier.
I
don't
think
think
he
it's
has given
actually
some
much.
background, but I think to this extent, I will agree with defense counsel, and I will sustain the objection.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor. When was it that you were sent to Korea, sir?
So our whole brigade got deployed February, I want to say 14th or 15th sometime, but I deployed a little bit later because I was getting ready to have a baby. So I left like a month later, but he had already been there.
February 2018,
Yes, sir.
and you followed in March?
Yes, sir.
Sir, during deployment in Korea, how are a soldier's living quarters determined?
Usually, if you have the high enough ranking, you kind of get your own spot. But if you're like E5 and below, you have to have a roommate. So it'd just be you and your roommate to one room.
Who all lives in your barracks?
Everybody in your whole company. So with me being in FSC, everybody in my FSC is in that one barracks.
Including Sergeant Hassel.
Yes, sir.
Sir, with the way that you go overseas with your company and live in the barracks with your company, are the other duties and roles that your work life consists of also there with your company?
Yes.
Did this time in Korea allow you and Sergeant Hassel to grow closer?
Yes, sir.
Sir, do you know if Sergeant Hassel was married?
Yes, sir.
What was his wife's name?
Kemia Hassel.
Did you ever meet her?
Yes, sir. Multiple occasions.
Do you see her here in the courtroom?
Yes, sir.
Will you point to her, please, and describe an article of clothing that she's wearing?
She's wearing a navy blue or a dark blazer with the white shirt.
Your Honor, I'd ask the record reflect that this witness has identified the defendant.
Yes, it may.
Sir, did you ever hang out with the defendant and Sergeant Hassel together?
Yes, sir.
Had you ever been to his house?
Yes, sir. Multiple occasions.
Had him and his wife ever been to your house?
Yes, sir.
How would you describe their relationship?
I would say it's
Do you know if he loved her?
he was in love with her.
Why do you say that?
It was this one moment. They had came over to my house for the Super Bowl. That was in February 2018, right before we deployed. It was just him and his wife, and my wife was pregnant. And, you know, he just treated her, you know, just to try to make sure she was comfortable in my house, even though he was a guest. So he had his arm around her while we was watching the Super Bowl, and my wife was laying down on the couch, and he was, like, consoling her, just trying to, like, pull her close. She just kind of just sat there, like, just still. But my wife, she looked, and she's like, "Why you don't ever love me like that?" I'm like, shit, that's gonna go out the window. That's puppy love, if you ask me. But
Was that the only time that you'd observed the defendant not return Sergeant Hassel's affection, or were there other occasions?
it was another occasion. I had went to his house for Thanksgiving, and he invited me because my wife, she's half Native American, so we don't celebrate Thanksgiving, and all our family is in California, so we don't have no family in Georgia. So my family is my family. So he invited me over to his house for Thanksgiving, and he had a bottle of Hennessy because, you know, I like Hennessy. And he was like, "Come on, I need you to help me drink it." So I went over there to his house, and it's like when he seen me, he was like, "Thank God, man, I got somebody I can talk to." And he was sitting there, he was playing Madden, but, I mean, you don't see the signs until, like, after the fact.
Yes, sir.
Like after, like, she kind of was just, like, standoffish, and, you know, even though it was her family there, because he told me that his family was going to come down, or he was going to go up to his family for Christmas and New Year's, and her family came down from Atlanta for Thanksgiving, so they basically split their time together. And while she was there, she was just kind of, even though it was her family, it's like he still felt uncomfortable in his own house, because it was just her family. And she just was doing her own thing.
And you were able to pick up on that?
Yes.
Sir, I think I've gathered from your testimony, but was the defendant deployed to Korea at the same time as you and the sergeant?
Yes, sir.
Was she in the same company as the two of you?
No, sir.
So she lived in a separate barracks,
Yes, sir.
in a separate part of the base
Yes, sir.
with her company?
Yes, sir.
Sergeant, do you know who Jeremy Cuellar is?
Yes, sir.
Was Jeremy Cuellar in the same company as the defendant, Kemia Hassel,
Yes, sir.
in Korea together?
Yes, sir.
Sergeant Burks, prior to Korea, was Sergeant Hassel aware that the defendant and Jeremy Cuellar knew each other?
Your
Yes,
Honor,
sir.
I'll object, this witness can't testify to what Sergeant Hassel knew or was aware of. False
Well, you can
speculation.
ask if he knows, and then how he knows, but to that I'll sustain.
Thank you.
Sergeant Burks, do you know if prior to Korea, Sergeant Hassel was aware that the defendant knew who Jeremy Cuellar was?
Yes, sir.
How do you know that?
So right before we went to Korea, Sergeant Hassel, he had a Ford F-150 pickup truck, Platinum, and he went and sold it to the dealership. So he went to sell it back to the dealership, and I asked him why. He's like, because he can save
Judge,
money.
At this point, I'll object to hearsay as well.
This isn't being offered for its truth, Your Honor. We're still trying to figure out how this witness knew that Sergeant Hassel has nothing to do with an F-150.
It's still being, but the entire story is being offered to prove the truth of the matter that somehow Sergeant Hassel knew Jeremy Cuellar.
I'll withdraw the question,
Okay,
Your Honor.
the specifics may not be, I'll sustain that and then let you ask a new question.
Prior to deployment to Korea, had you ever seen Kemia Hassel alone with Jeremy Cuellar?
Prior to Korea?
Yes.
No, sir.
Had you ever talked to Sergeant Hassel about the times that you did see Kemia Hassel alone with Jeremy Cuellar?
Yes, sir.
Will maybe tell the jury about that.
Me and Sergeant Hassel, we were at the gym. I had seen her and him multiple times at the gym together. They were in the same vicinity or they were like walking next to each other, which seemed a little too close for comfort for me from a married man. But, I just didn't want to push too much of an issue, because it's a fine line that I didn't want to cross and make it seem like I was trying to interfere or cause some damage towards their marriage. And there was a few times while I was in the medical center to get checked up that the two walked in together as well. And I told him and I approached him about it, and, I told him I wouldn't be a good friend to you if I didn't tell you, what was going on. Now, what he made of it is what he made of it.
How did he react?
The first instance, he picked up the phone and he called her right away. They had their little conversation. That was it. The second time, we were on a bus together and we was on our way back to the barracks from the gym, and he picked up the phone and he called her as well. He picked up the phone and he called her, and they had their conversation. Even though I can't say I wanted to tell him, no, bro, you're wrong. That was his wife, and I didn't want to interfere, but I just had to let him know, at least from a brother's perspective.
Do you know if Sergeant Hassel felt that his marriage was threatened by Jeremy Cuellar?
No, sir.
You don't know, or you think that?
Well, I don't think he thought that his marriage was threatened, but I definitely know that he knew something was going on, because as soon as we came back from Korea, we had a sports week, and he came and he approached me. He's like, I feel like she's not fighting anymore.
Your Honor, whether or not Sergeant Hassel was aware of the affair that was going on and how he reacted is ultimately going to become relevant in this trial. It depends on future evidence that's about to be admitted with legal witnesses, and if the judge if Your Honor thinks that this might be kept out by hearsay, it has to approach to be allowed to articulate the basis.
Well, the objection isn't relevance, Judge. The objection is hearsay. It's an out-of-court statement. It appears to be entered for the truth of the matter asserted, which is that Sergeant Hassel had some knowledge of whatever was going on between my client and Mr. Cuellar.
Are you agreeing it's hearsay?
No, Your Honor, it's not hearsay. This witness has testified that he told the witness about the times that he'd seen them together, and he'd witnessed the sergeant call her on multiple occasions and talk about the issue of Jeremy Cuellar. How his reaction and what he said to this witness in response is not hearsay. It's being offered to rebut.
A reaction is one thing, and what was said is something else. Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
So a reaction he may testify to. Beyond that, at this point, it appears to be hearsay unless it's offered for a different purpose. At this point, I don't see that, so I'll sustain as to what was said.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I have just a second?
Yes.
Just to clarify, sir, did you inform Sergeant Hassel about your concerns about Kemia Hassel and Jeremy Cuellar?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Are you done with direct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any cross, Mr. Kessler?
Just briefly, Sergeant, you indicated that you spoke with Sergeant Hassel about issues that you thought potentially could exist. Is that fair?
Yes, sir.
All right. And at least in your presence, Sergeant Hassel on 2 occasions, after you spoke with him, called Kemia, correct?
Yes, sir.
They had a conversation together, correct?
Yes, sir.
And after those conversations, based on what you testified to earlier, Sergeant Hassel did not seem threatened or concerned about the state of his marriage. Is that right?
Correct.
You may have been, but he was not. Fair?
Correct.
I have nothing else, Judge. Thank you.
All right. Anything else?
On cross, you testified again that Sergeant Hassel was not threatened by Jeremy Cuellar, even though he believed something was up.
Yes, sir.
Knowing what you know about the sergeant, why wasn't he threatened?
Objection, Your Honor. Calls for speculation.
Your Honor, the defense's entire cross-examination consisted of this witness's knowledge on the issue.
But you are asking for him to guess or speculate, right?
It goes to the sergeant.
My question is that what you're doing here?
No, I'm asking if he knows, based off of what he's seen and heard from Sergeant Hassel, whether or not his good friend and brothers felt that his marriage was on the line.
He's already, then it's cumulative, Judge. It's asked and answers. He's already said he wasn't threatened.
The original question appears to call for speculation. I will sustain that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Anything else?
No, Your Honor.
No, thank you, Judge.
Okay, thank you. You may step back.
We will call Tadarius Gholston.
Approach the podium, please. Raise your right hand for the judge.
Do you hereby solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give in the matter now pending before this court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? This you do under the pains and penalties of perjury.
Yes, sir, I do.
Sir, if you would, state your full name for the record and spell your last, please.
Tadarius Gholston,
How do you spell your last name, sir?
Gholston, sir.
What do you do, sir?
I'm a 92 Alpha in the Army, automated logistics specialist.
Okay. I'm going to ask you again, but I need you to slow down just a second, sir. So you're in the Army?
Yes, I am, sir.
Okay, and you're a 92
Alpha,
Alpha. Okay. What's a 92 Alpha?
automated logistics specialist.
Okay. And what's your rank, sir?
Sergeant,
And where are you currently stationed?
Fort Stewart, Georgia.
How long have you been there?
2 years, sir.
Do you know of a Jeremy Cuellar?
Yes, I do, sir.
Okay, how do you know Jeremy Cuellar?
I knew him through friends of mine.
Were you friends with him, per se?
In a sense, sir.
Would you hang out with him personally or just through
No,
friends?
sir. Just with friends.
Did you have interactions with him involving the sale of a couple pistols?
Yes, sir, I did.
Did he buy some pistols off you?
Yes, sir, he did.
How many pistols did he buy off you?
2, sir.
What was the first pistol he bought off you?
9mm SRE Ruger,
When was that?
October, sir.
Of what year?
Last year, sir.
2018?
Yes, sir.
And how much did he spend on that gun?
400 to be exact.
Okay, and you indicated that was a 9mm Ruger?
Yes, sir.
What kind specifically?
SRE.
SRE?
Ruger.
And along with the pistol, what else came with the pistol?
4 magazines, 2 that had been used, and those were Ruger, and 2 that had not been used, and those were Pro Mag.
Sir, I want to show you what's been admitted as People's 127. Those look familiar to you at all, sir?
Yes, sir, they do.
How do they look familiar, sir?
Those are the ones that I told him, sir.
Mr. Cuellar?
Yes, sir.
And Exhibit 123, you familiar with that, sir?
Yes, sir.
How are you familiar with that?
That's the one that was probably in the weapon.
The weapon that you sold to Mr. Cuellar?
Yes, sir.
So you sold him 4 total, though.
Yes, sir.
You recognize these 3?
Yes, sir, I do.
What's the other type of gun you sold him, sir?
I sold him a Glock 23 chambered in .40.
You say chambered for 40 and 40 caliber?
Yes, sir.
When did you sell him that?
December 15th.
of what year?
2018.
I'm going to show you what's been admitted as People's Exhibit 52. If I could have you take a look at this, sir, in People's Exhibit 53. Are you able to recognize that pistol?
Yes, sir. That is the pistol that I sold him.
Okay, is that from the serial number that's there?
Yes, sir.
That's the Glock, right, sir?
Yes, sir.
Can't hear. All right, just make sure you keep that microphone up, okay, sir?
Will do.
And sir, I'm going to have you take a look at People's Exhibit 128. Are you able to recognize this, sir?
Yes, sir. That's temporary registration from Fort Riley.
Okay, and what is this exactly? How are you able to recognize it?
That's what I had to fill out in order to be able to proceed on post with the weapons.
Okay. So this is what you filled out personally while in Kansas?
Yes, sir.
All right. And it lists the Ruger SR9E
Yes, sir.
and the Glock 23,
It does.
Generation 4 Glock, right?
Mhm.
Is that yes?
Yes, sir.
The removable back straps on the Generation 4?
Well, it was aftermarket.
Aftermarket. Okay. And do you know the last time you saw this piece of paper?
The day that I filled out the paperwork in order to take it to the courthouse to get my weapons registered on post.
Okay. And then what did you do with it after that?
I put it inside the case of the weapon.
The Glock case?
Yes, I did, sir.
Okay. And when you sold Mr. Cuellar the Glock case, was this still in the case at the time?
Yes, sir, it was.
I have nothing further.
I have nothing for Sergeant Gholston, Judge.
All right, thank you, sir. You may step down and witness be excused.
No objection from the people.
Yes, Judge.
And ladies and gentlemen, I think at this time, we're going to take a recess. Is that right, counsel?
Yes, please, Judge.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes,
Okay.
Judge.
Okay.
I apologize.
I'm going to send you back to the jury room, remind you, you can talk about anything you want except for this case. And we'll get you back here as soon as we can.
All right,
Thank you for your patience.